I am sharing a success story. If you're focusing in on that AMH and FSH and you've been told your only option is IVF, she has one ovary, endometriosis, low AMH, high FSH, and after functional testing and targeted changes, she went on to conceive naturally when she least expected it. This is a powerful reminder that your fertility is far greater than a single lab result. Excited for you to listen. Let's go. Welcome back. I'm Sarah Clark, founder of FabFertile. For over a decade, my team and I have helped hundreds of couples improve their chances of pregnancy success, whether naturally or through IVF. We specialize in supporting those with low AMH, high FSH, diminished ovarian reserve, premature ovarian insufficiency, and recurrent pregnancy loss through functional lab testing and personalized fertility strategies. Today, we're digging into a success story with someone who has low AMH, high FSH, endometriosis, and one ovary. She went on to get pregnant naturally. This episode is for you if you've been told that low AMH or high FSH, diminished ovarian reserve, and you feel like your options are limited. You want to understand how functional testing, like food sensitivity testing, stool testing, genetic testing, advanced blood work can uncover hidden stressors and affect egg quality, and you're looking for a real success story to show you that even with multiple diagnoses, to show you that pregnancy is still possible. Thanks for listening. I'm so thankful that you're here. Make sure you hit subscribe or follow. And if you know someone else who's on the fertility journey, please share this podcast with them. We're talking all about Diana, so her name has been changed for privacy. But we are going to talk about her case today and how she went on to conceive her child naturally after being told things are looking pretty grim. So she had one ovary after surgery. She had an endometriosis diagnosis. She had the low AMH and the high FSH, so she was labeled with diminished ovarian reserve. And a lot of times we just get those numbers. We don't look beyond them. We're like, okay, AMH is low, FSH is high. It's got to be IVF. We've been told it's donor eggs. And then we don't look at all the other biomarkers. So we're going to explore some of that today. She had issues that she didn't really know that was linked to her diminished ovarian reserve. Again, we don't look at things in a silo. We have to look at the whole body. So she had digestive issues. I can't tell you how many people I see either have constipation. We see a lot of the times people have constipation. It can be linked with thyroid issues. You need to go to the bathroom, have a bowel movement 1 to 3 times a day, not 1 to 3 times a week. So if we've got that, you've got all those toxins circulating in your body, that can definitely be a clue. Adrenal stress, our whole thesis on DOR, diminished ovarian reserve, premature ovarian insufficiency, is it actually early menopause? Because that's what we worry about. Or is it your adrenals? Because you're working more than 50 hours a week. You've been doing multiple IVFs. You spend tens of thousands of dollars thinking that's your solution. That hasn't worked. So you're working. You're also doing IVF. You're dealing with all the other stressors in life. So is it your adrenals that have impacted your thyroid, which impacts your AMH and your FSH and your follicle count? So it's not a silo. We need to look at all these things together. Blood sugar swings. She had these blood sugar swings. So she was hangry. She had poor sleep, those mood swings and sugar cravings. And the blood sugar is on a roller coaster. So all those things can be common, but they're not normal. It's a huge clue. And obviously hormone imbalance, which is what we see a lot, where you have low estrogen and the progesterone is non-existent. Or maybe we even have high estrogen in relation to the progesterone, so estrogen dominance. So we need to be able to look at the hormone piece, but not just focus in on all the hormones and not look at the rest of the biomarkers. And she had a lot of overwhelm, emotional overwhelm on this because she had the one ovary and she had some cysts that are growing on the other ovary. And her doctor said, you have got to rush to IVF, otherwise you're going to lose the other ovary. So there was a lot of panic, but her intuition was telling her that although IVF was still on the table, she wanted to work on her health and it wasn't quite the time to deploy it. So we really need to be careful. We're not anti-IVF. There's a huge push in the pharmaceutical arena here to push IVF is the only option. They've got these groups of girlfriends that everyone's doing IVF. If the majority of us can get pregnant naturally, what the heck is going on here? Why is this seeming to be you get the diagnosis, they use the AMH to scare you. Low AMH does not predict your ability to get pregnant naturally. It does not test your egg quality, and it doesn't look at your uterine receptivity. It's a measurement to see how well you'll do with IVF. And it is a marker we don't want to be blind to, nor do we want to hang our whole entire reproductive health on the AMH number without looking at the rest of our health and just thinking, I'm going to press the easy button and go to IVF. I don't think any person that actually chooses IVF is where they want to be, nor do they think it's the easy button. But sometimes looking at our health and digging deeper into the stressors and all the other piece can feel a little overwhelming. So we're like, oh wait, I've got this piece over here where I can take some medication and push my body. And sometimes that works. And other times I see it doesn't. So you've gone through all these retrievals and the transfer hasn't worked, and abnormal embryos, you have a pregnancy loss, just heartbreaking things that people are going through here, widespread, because we haven't stepped back, which we think the fast track is IVF. The fast track is always your health. It is not an or, oh, I got to save money for IVF. No, it's an and. We always do our health first, and then we can decide if we want to deploy IUI, medicated cycles, IVF, PRP. We got people doing PRP and they're pumping their body full of inflamed cells and wondering why the PRP doesn't work. Well, because we just pumped our body full of inflamed cells and you have inflammation in your body from a whole host of things we're going to talk about today. There is a lot of overwhelm. So this client, she was very faith-based. Faith to her was extremely important. We work with a lot of people that faith is important, and for you it's either God or it's the universe, but a lot of times we become disconnected from our intuition and we just get stuck in our logical brain. And all the peace and the knowing comes when we look for the signs and we listen to our body. We know that we're not broken. We know that we can get pregnant, and some way, somehow it's going to happen. And we just need to release the pressure and the impatience and the frustration. I know you're here trying to figure it out. Like in times of stress, I will default to research in a crazy way, actually. It's my superpower. I will figure it out, but also I need to see when I need to bring in people to help me on this. And so if you're trying to figure this out on yourself, DIYing this will just lose time and frustrate you. So we need to be able to look at things in a targeted manner. For Diana, she said, you know what, something's being missed. My intuition is telling me I got to dig deeper. We looked at her lifestyle. So we prioritized her sleep. Yes, you want to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. If you have dysregulated sleep or you're waking up all night long, it could be your blood sugar on a roller coaster. You get up to go to the bathroom multiple times. Obviously, it could be that you're having too much water, but we see a lot of blood sugar imbalance, magnesium deficiency. We see sluggish liver. We see the adrenaline spikes early in the morning. I've done a whole episode on sleep, not about you taking a bunch more melatonin and magnesium, although magnesium and melatonin can be part of it, but we need to dig deeper to see why the sleep is off. Even if you're having nightmares for years, terrors in their sleep, which could be nutrient deficiency. So sleep is key. It's the cornerstone of good health. A lot of us know this. If you have dealt with sleep issues, you have probably tried everything under the sun. But we need to look at it from a targeted manner, from blood sugar to liver to the stress you're under. Your cortisol is spiking. Our nervous system is dysregulated. So we work on that in a targeted manner, making sure you're hydrated. We see so many people that are dehydrated. You're just having 1 glass of water a day and wondering why you're like a camel. You're hardly ever going to the bathroom because maybe you don't have time. Years ago, I'm like, I don't have time to pee. I am too busy. I remember trying to pee and going, why can't I pee faster? I gotta get back to work. So we need to keep hydrated. Meditation or some sort of stress reduction piece. For her, it was her faith. And so being able to do prayer and her going to her place of worship. Sometimes the place of worship can be difficult, right? This is secondary infertility. We see a lot of people go on easy breezy, have your first child, second child, all of a sudden the low AMH, all these diagnoses seem to come out of nowhere. Well, you just sustained life and having a child, and that was taxing on your system. And now we're having your second one. You're wondering why it's not working. Well, we need to boost everything up. Reduce your stress. You're looking after a little one. Maybe your sleep is completely dysregulated because the little one's up all night. I've got a whole episode on that too, what to do to help with your sleep when you're caring for another little one. Stress reduction, we want to work on that. And then movement. So we don't want to be training for the marathon, doing all this running. Don't do hot yoga, any of that stuff that's like overtaxing. Nor do we want to put our feet up on the couch and say, I don't need to exercise at all. No, we want to brisk walking. We can do bar or Pilates, yoga, but more hatha, restorative. Basically get your butt moving, but not too much that you can't even talk to your partner, you're so out of breath. We're doing burpees and these boot camps. That's not where we want to be, but nor do we want you just sitting sedentary all day long. So we need to move, but not too much. I've done an episode about this, about perfection. So for her, there was a lot of perfectionist piece where it's not gonna be perfect, I'm not gonna do it, and we give it up and we just put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So that emotional side of things, we just need to be able to like, oh wait, there we go again. Okay, I'm trying to control it. I try to make it perfect. And underneath there is it's fear, right? Fear that it's not going to work. It's part of our Fab Fertile method. We do testing. So we ship the testing worldwide. We can get it to most countries, North America and Europe, Australia, New Zealand. So send us a message at hello@FabFertile. If you want to get some of our testing, we can get it to you. We can talk about options to help put subject line testing. We did the stool test, showed she had leaky gut. So then your body mounts an immune response to all your favorite foods. You can let in those nasty critters, some parasites, bacterial overgrowth, inflammation. Everything we do is to reduce inflammation in a targeted manner. We supported her gut health. So we do protocols. We did a protocol to be able to eliminate the bad guys and bring in the good. Yes, we want to do a probiotic, but sometimes we need specific strains based on the bacteria that we find in your stool test. So a lot of times we're taking a bunch of supplements. It can be very expensive, right? We want to make sure we do this in a targeted manner. Digestive enzymes to help with stomach acid. So for her, we did see H. pylori impact your ability to absorb nutrients. So you can be well fed, but malnourished, and all your nutrients are low. And then the H. pylori, so we all have that, but it can grow into a virulence factor. And that could be why nutrients are all low. And then we pass that back and forth via saliva. We did the stool test. People worry we're not going to find anything. There's always something going on in the stool test. Otherwise, you would be pregnant. So the health of the gut microbiome is highly tied to the health of the ovaries. We need to work on that. And sometimes the first kick on the stool test, only a small amount shows up. And then there's biofilms as we work to remove those. And we do a retest because we always want to retest a protocol. We just do a test and then we don't go back and check to see what has been removed. And then we can make adjustments. Sometimes more bacteria or fungal or parasites show up on the second round, and then we can do something to address that. Food sensitivities, send me a message at hello@fabfertile.ca, subject line 10-day. I'll send you our 10-day elimination diet. It tells you exactly which foods to eliminate and how to reintroduce them. For Diana, we did that 5-day food diary, we did the 10-day elimination diet, because you can get the food sensitivity test, but if you don't actually implement these changes, say, oh, wait, I can't have gluten, dairy, onions, and blueberries. Who wants to take that out? And we just throw it over our shoulder and don't even begin. That's why we start with the elimination diet. You need to feel it in your body to see how these foods impact you. And then we do the food sensitivity testing in a targeted manner, take out the top inflammatory foods for you for 60 to 90 days. So you can do anything in a short period of time. Reducing inflammation. She had many inflammatory foods, and this can worsen endometriosis and diminished ovarian reserves. We help to stabilize her blood sugar and more fats and proteins and the diet that's right for her. It's not about you going keto, carnivore, vegan, or paleo. That just wastes time. The gold standard for food sensitivity is the elimination diet. So send me a message on that, the elimination diet. Then we do the food sensitivity test to fine tune this, because I got people, like we said, intolerant to lettuce or all your favorite foods that you're eating. As you heal your gut, you can bring most of the foods back in. Doesn't mean you're going to be taking those out forever. Then we do genetic testing, different than the karyotyping you're going to do at the fertility clinic. This is looking at your gene variants and what are the specific diet and lifestyle and supplement recommendations to support those gene variants. And so for her, we found methylation issues. And that's a theme that we see, needing support. So that MTHFR gene variant. So 60 to 80% of us have that. You need to have support to be able to process your B vitamins. And that could be why your hormones are off, because you need support with that. So we can see that on your genetic test. She had the methylation issues. We need to be able to help with her B vitamins. And then we were reducing oxidative stress, which that's going to be tied to your egg quality and the mitochondrial powerhouse of the cell. So if you've got all this inflammation and oxidative stress coming in, that could be why they're saying, oh, you got poor egg quality. Don't know what we can do about it. Maybe stop drinking coffee and alcohol. But those are generalized recommendations. We need to dig in deeper and look at your specific testing and biomarkers. So the genetic piece, we see that methylation side of things, that MTHFR. And yes, we want to make sure we take a methylfolate prenatal and look at B vitamins, but it's a very complex pathway. I've done some podcast episodes on that. It's multifactorial. We need to be able to address that in a targeted manner. And then looking at her biomarkers, she had vitamin D deficiency, which we see a lot. We like the vitamin D between 60 to 80. If yours is low, yes, great. We want to supplement with it. We want to see why it's low. A lot of times it's low because of gut infections. Thyroid imbalance, like we talked about, the adrenals, the thyroid, the AMH, the FSH, and the follicle count. So her thyroid was off, and those inflammatory markers. So the HSCRP, so high sensitivity C-reactive protein, we regularly see that over 1. And we want it below 1. So if you've got inflammation, you wonder why you're going to do the PRP, and that doesn't work because you're injecting inflamed cells into your ovaries. So We need to be able to look at all your biomarkers. So for her, there was vitamin D, thyroid, and inflammatory markers were high. So then we looked at her supplements based on her genetics, based on her biomarkers, did the elimination diet to reduce inflammation in a targeted manner. You can do anything for a short period of time. We started to repair her gut and address those infections, and then repair it, bringing in proper probiotics, not just a general strain. We can look at specific strains. We do the gut, and we also do the vaginal microbiome. Then her mindset, for her, leaning in on her faith. So shifting from my body is broken to my body is capable, my body is fertile. And so for her, digestion improved. Her energy came back and her stress lessened, all this pressure. She felt calmer, more grounded, and more resilient. And so IVF for her was still on the table, but now her body really felt ready to do it. And interestingly enough, we see this many times where you're like, you know what, I've done all this work on my health. And this is for her was only about 7 months. Done all this work on my health, and I'm ready to go for that IVF retrieval. I'll start the retrieval process. So she went in to do the retrieval and found out she was already pregnant. And so this has happened to us many times before with clients. Again, she was told low AMH, high FSH, endometriosis, only one ovary. So the numbers are not your destiny. You need to know them. We're not going to be blind to them. We need to look beyond them. So for her gut health, so we had hidden inflammation and imbalances. Once they addressed them, then the hormones started to balance. She was able to absorb her nutrients, those food sensitivity pieces, and then the genetics really helped us further fine-tune supplements and really focus so we're not guessing. We're not throwing spaghetti at the wall and just hoping for something to stick. No, we're actually looking at our testing and making an informed decision and then deciding when to deploy IVF. Remember, there's a huge push from the pharmaceutical companies to push IVF. It's nice that we're getting IVF covered by workplaces. Great, we're happy it's being covered, but very few plans are covering nutrition support. Some plans are covering mindset support, but maybe in your plan you'll have a dietitian who's following the food pyramid, which is completely outdated and telling you to pound down a bunch of whole grains and dairy. It's old advice on the nutrition side of things. And then no one's digging deeper into these testing. These are cutting edge tests you can't get from your conventional doctor. They'll be like, why do you want these numbers? These don't matter. They are critical. Of course they matter. We need to be our own advocate. Don't let anybody gaslight you. Dig deeper. Take your health in your own hands. Like we said, IVF is not, I have to save all my money for IVF. And I'm not going to worry about this health thing. No, we work on our health and we either get pregnant naturally, or if we do go to IVF, we have a successful retrieval and a good transfer and it actually works and our pregnancy is good and our postpartum is good and the health of our child. We cannot skip the health piece. You're being sold a bill of goods if someone just looks at you and if they think your numbers are okay, they're like, okay, great. I'll tell people, how'd you get to IVF? I don't know. I went to see my OBGYN. Next thing I know, I was in the fertility clinic and they had me doing 3 and 4 IVFs. All this medication. We don't know how that's impacting our body. So we need to bring the team in and deploy it when it makes sense, when we understand, when we look at our testing, because right now you are just guessing. And so Diana's story, our client here, reminds us that your body is more than just a number on a lab sheet. She had the one ovary, endometriosis, low AMH, high FSH, and with the right support, the targeted support, and she got to work. Our team really helped with her nervous system and helped to identify all those infections and imbalances. And when we go deeper with testing, uncover those hidden stressors with the gut, the diet, the genetics, understanding all your biomarkers. The person with the white coat's not hiding this stuff from you, going, oh, everything looks normal. If it was normal, you'd already be pregnant. So we need to look at those numbers and we want optimal so that your body can create an environment where pregnancy is possible. Hopefully this episode was impactful for you. If this story resonates with you, send me a message at hello@fabfertile.ca, subject line fertile, and we'll talk about options to help and improve your chances of pregnancy success. Take care.